We had an engagement ring picked out. Then I caught him. So, he has a job with this girl. I got a strange sensation about her a year ago. He told me that nothing was wrong, and I trusted him to set limits. I worked out at the gym where they work. My personal trainer was talking about someone else cheating a few weeks ago, and I mentioned that if my guy did that to me I'd be crushed, and it was just. The expression on his face. He acted as though he was sorry for me. And that gave me the strongest gut sensation I'd ever had. So I looked through his phone and found all of these texts where she was like, stating he was her husband, calling me a replacement, and giving him bikini images, and I confronted him weeping, and he swore nothing was wrong, he wanted to be with me, and so on. This has occurred a few times in recent weeks, and I knew something was wrong because he was always stoic and dry-eyed. At the same time, he seemed to be attempting purchasing flowers for me. Finally, is being initiated. You're taking me out on dates. We're talking about getting married and spending our lives together as we get older. And I was trying so hard because I love him so much. Then, while on vacation on Saturday, I discovered a messaging program on his phone that auto-delete messages and discovered he'd been chatting to her while she was capturing screenshots. He was pretty inebriated, so I asked him what was going on at 2 a.m., and he lied. And I pushed him until he began weeping, and he told me everything. Basically, he felt overlooked last summer because I was working on my book. I work full-time and spend a lot of my spare time writing since I want to be an author. And it was easy to let it happen because she was constantly throwing herself at him. For months, he's had emotions for her. I'm not sure how long they've been. He claims he is falling in love with her and no longer loves me. He stated he was breaking up with me after vacation. Even when he went me ring shopping, he indicated he was thinking about breaking up with me. He was weeping and stating he didn't know what he wanted, so I asked if he was prepared to break touch for good in order for us to attempt to repair it, and he declined. So I effectively ended my relationship with myself for him. He'll be packing up his belongings this weekend. I'm embarrassed and so disoriented. He was my closest companion. When I was 19, I fell in love with him and made plans for my future around him. When he changed professions, I was completely behind him, and I had complete faith in him. I didn't believe he was capable of such a feat. My parents cheated on each other, and he understands how that messed me up. But for months, he lied to me and made me believe we were getting married, which he then fed into. I'm certain I'm better off without him, logically. But it hurts so much. And right now, I'm afraid I'll never love someone as much as I loved him. I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm unable to eat. I'm only lost. Update. I just dumped my 5-year-old partner, who blamed his infidelity on my work on my book. That's nonsense, and I appreciate the counsel you offered me. Here's the problem. Well, his employer, the company's owner, emailed me a warning stating that if I didn't remain quiet, he would harm me since I was interfering with his business. He's around 38, and I'm 24 and live alone. I had to go to the police station. It was the most embarrassing experience I'd ever had. The cops were fantastic about it, telling me that I wasn't overreacting and that I did the right thing by coming in, and that if he approaches me again, they would get involved. They suggested I question my ex whether he was aware of the threat, so I did. My ex was thankfully in the dark and furious with his employer. So at the very least, but he's not wicked. And now, I feel like a complete. It was wonderful to see him enraged. It was nice to speak with him and hear him apologize. My ex said that he may lose his job as a result of a colleague screenshotting my post and sending it to the whole business. He said that he doesn't care and that he wants his supervisor to instruct him to leave me alone. What makes me so concerned about him? Why do I feel bad for him if he loses his job? He harmed me. When I believed we were getting married, he upended my life. I know I'll never be able to trust him again, and I don't want him back. So why am I the one who is concerned about him? I simply feel so inept and perplexed. Story 2. I 38 male just found out that my brother 19 male has been on my wife 37 female. Background: my brother has been living with us since the lockdown began when his university closed. He couldn't stay with our parents since they had recently sold their home and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment, and our sister lived in another part of the nation. He was the oops baby, so I'm hoping that explains the age difference. My wife and I had a 5-bedroom house but no children. We planned to adopt 2 children in our 40s, so we let him remain. My brother has always been unusual. He's a bit of a loner with few pals outside of his online community. He's a timid, geeky guy. But once you get to know him, he's okay, or so I thought. So here's what went down. Because the internet does not reach my brother's room, he normally performs his schoolwork and other tasks in the dining room. I was heading to the fridge a few nights ago, after waking up in the middle of the night. Wife and I sleep early, when I saw my brother working on something, and as I went closer, I noticed an extremely compromising image of my wife, cleavage shot as she was gardening. He spotted me and hastily shut the window, as if he were viewing porn. I was too stunned to say anything, so he simply grinned uncomfortably and rushed to his room with the laptop. When I recognized there was something wrong, I knew I had to find out what it was. The following day, I asked my brother to pick up some groceries and lunch for us, and while he was gone, I went to his room, which I hadn't done since he moved, and it wasn't beautiful. I spotted a few of my wife's bras and some of her underwear, which I suppose he used for pleasure. I seized his laptop and started to spy on it. I knew his password since I borrowed his Crunchyroll account to watch an anime suggested by a friend. I don't often watch anime. I came upon some of the most revolting entries I'd ever read. There were photos of my wife in a towel, working out, in compromising postures, and so on. By the looks of it, everything was done without her permission. Every time he touches himself to the picture of my wife, the logs it. What's the scariest part? He sometimes listens in on our intercourse. My wife can be a little noisy, but we didn't believe it would be an issue since his bedroom was in another part of the home guest bedroom. I walked out of the room feeling like I needed to take a shower. It was extremely repulsive. Now I'm at a loss on what to do. Every time I see him, I battle the temptation to pound him into next week. I haven't informed my wife yet since I'm certain she would feel violated and disgusted. So I want to find the best answer first. I really want to throw him out, but he doesn't have somewhere else to go. What should I tell my parents if I do? What is the truth? This will very certainly split the family apart. I intend to inform my wife shortly, but if I do, I can practically promise she will reject him and refuse to see the family if he is there. I'm completely befuddled right now. Any suggestions would be beneficial. I'm still battling the want to thrash my brother to a pulp. If you're asking, yes, I did snap photos as evidence. I informed my wife. Just a quick update. The Redditors who stated I should notify her first since she was the victim were completely correct. I'm giving her complete authority over what she does about it. There has been a lot that has transpired, yet there are still issues that need to be resolved. It's too lengthy to include here, and it's too unfinished to start a new update post. Hopefully, we'll get everything sorted out by tomorrow or the next day. I'll provide an update after everything has settled and I've cooled down. No, I'm not planning to beat up my brother, but I've considered it. And to those who have inquired about the photos, you're revolting. I hope the ladies in your life are pleased with you. Please show some courtesy to my wife.